Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MTG Traders. My name is Taryn, and I'm kind of here for a little bit of a rant. So this video, I'm basically going to title like the top 5 reasons energy should be banned in the standard meta. And if you guys don't know yet, January 15th is the next bans and restricted announcement. They did one back in October, and they said this is the next one. And they really wanted to wait until Rivals of Ixalan kind of happened, and that way we could have kind of like something to like gestate as far as like the meta to kind of figure out like if something needs to be banned or not. And to me, a lot of people are kind of pointing to like Attune with Aether as the card that needs to be banned, and other people are pointing to just energy in general needing to be banned. For me, I'm kind of leaning towards more the energy in general that needs to be banned, and the reason is kind of, these 5 right here. Number 1, energy is not interactable. We have this problem with Affinity, we have this problem with Infect. I'm not sure why WotC seems to be wanting to print cards that don't really have a way to interact with them. And what I'm talking about is, of course, whenever a creature enters the battlefield like Whirler Virtuoso or Rogue Refiner, they get 2 energy, and the energy goes on the stack and stays there forever. The energy doesn't go away, the energy doesn't dissipate, it stays there until they use it for their next creature. Now this for me creates like one of 2 problems. Either 1, they have energy stacked forever so they can pump their Long Tusk Ghost making 3/3s, 4/4s, and so on, just like with the Attune with Aether turn 1 play into Long Tusk making it a 3/3 immediately. Or 2, it makes cards that were previously like in a bubble fine, like a Bristling Hydra, where you could actually kill it on the reaction of the end of the battlefield ability. So if there wasn't any energy and they come into the battlefield, well, before the energy does hit your stack, you can actually kill Bristling Hydra, and that's awesome. But of course, the problem is now is that we have a lot of energy on the stack, Bristling Hydra enters the battlefield, and since we already have energy, Bristling Hydra already basically has hexproof. And that makes a 4-mana 4/3 already a headache and an even larger threat. So yeah, energy is not interactable, and cards like Solemnity really don't solve the issue because it doesn't take away energy. It only just removes energy that is going to come on after Solemnity has been played. And the biggest issue is turn 1 and 2 with Attune with Aether and cards like Rogue Refiner on turn 3. Again, I'm telling you, this is going to be like a standard rant, but I'm sorry. And if my voice sounds terrible, it's because I'm sick, but I don't care because this needs to go out. Number 2 for why energy should be banned, banning one card does not fix the issue of energy. A lot of people are, again, pointing to Attune with Aether as the issue that needs to be banned to kind of like limit the colors that energy uses, but I don't really think that's the answer. Attune with Aether, yes, obviously needs to be banned. That's the answer for like one color. That's the answer for the 4-color energy decks. But I feel like Rogue Refiner, Whirler Virtuoso, maybe even something like a Bristling Hydra or even a Long Tusk Cub need to be looked at seriously for energy to be banned. Maybe this needs to be a situation where we look at it just like we looked at Affinity back in the day and said, you know what, Affinity is just too good of a mechanic, it needs to be banned overall. And I feel like that's the same way energy is right now. One of the problems that I keep seeing is, okay, well, we just need to ban Attune, or we just need to ban, Rogue Refiner, we just need to ban Whirler Virtuoso. Well, that's 3 cards right there, and I feel like just banning all of them fixes the issues in multiple sets, multiple colors, and multiple decks. Reason number 3 is that energy synergies limit growth in archetypes. Okay, so we have new sets coming out every 3 months for the standard meta, and right now, there's probably maybe 3 to 4 cards in Ixalan that are being used in an energy deck right now, and 2 of those are going to be used in modern, like, Search for Ascanta, things like that. While, of course, the best cards are going to bubble to the top for the Pro Tour meta and the top tier decks, being such a limited format like this, where you really only have like maybe 2 to 3 cards in an entire new set be used in the new format for standard is just insane to me. And at the same time, whenever a new set does come out, energy just destroys it because it doesn't have a way to interact with it directly. Like right now, we have Rivals of Ixalan coming out, and we're going to have a great Merfolk deck, we're going to have a fantastic Vampire deck, and we're going to have a really fun Dinosaur deck. But the problem is, 1, they're not fast enough, 2, they have no way to interact with energy, and 3, they're just going to die to energy anyway, so why even play them? That's the main thing for me is like, if they don't ban energy, then a set from a year ago is still going to be able to deal with new sets coming out today. And this is kind of the problem with power creep overall in Magic in general, but I feel like in Standard is where the fine tuning really does need to come into effect. If you don't tune for new sets to be better than old sets, then why play the new sets? And we saw that with Ixalan, with people only playing 2 or 3 cards from the set. Now Rivals does have a lot of really powerful cards, and we have a lot of speculation on whether or not we think the cards are going to be better or not than the Kaladesh cards, but I feel like overall, we're still going to have the main issue of energy decks just destroying the meta thanks to how powerful they are with one another. Number 4 for why they should ban energy, every card is so good, new cards can't solve the problem unless there are specific answers. We saw this specifically with Solemnity in Amonkhet block. They basically were like, okay, well, we're going to print an answer for energy, and it wasn't enough. A turn 3 enchantment that can be removed really easily is something that really doesn't have the viability in the Pro Tour or in the standard meta format. We needed cards that took away energy. We needed red cards that like did direct damage to energy or direct damage to an opponent that also did negative to energy or something like that. We need black cards that did target opponent loses X amount of energy and things like that. We didn't get those cards in Amonkhet at all, and so we had no way to interact with it. And so it still went on basically just being a plague on the format. And we went through 2 sets, Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation, basically undefeated. We had Raminap Red come in there a little bit, and of course Approach and Godfarer's Gift coming in with Hour of Devastation. I mean, those decks are nice and they're very good and they're in the meta as well, and they're top tier too, but we still have the primarily like large group of decks in the meta right now are still energy based from Kaladesh and Aether Revolt. And to me, it's just a disservice to WotC as far as like new cards going forward and new sets moving forward. Okay, so here's my number 5, and then of course these were in no particular order, but I do think this is probably number 1 on WotC's list, and that is number 5, WotC loses money either way. Now what I mean when I say this is that WotC has a situation where they're like, okay, well standard is now basically 3 decks, Raminap Red, Approach, maybe Godfarer's Gift kind of in there, and then you have, energy, and then like 4 other energy decks right below that one. The problem is that people aren't buying into new cards, they're not buying into new sets. They're drafting them, sure, but they're not buying the new sets to get new cards for those new decks, like the energy decks. They may buy one card like Search for Azcanta, but that's it. And what that does is it makes people who are in standard really devalue standard in general. They just kind of build their energy deck and sit on it for the next 3 to 6 months or 2 years if they don't ban energy. And what that does is it makes people stop drafting this new sets. It makes people stop buying new cards because the cards aren't as good as the cards they have. Why do that? This is the same problem we have with Modern, in that like WotC loses money because like they just don't make better cards for the Modern format. And it's just because Modern is just so big. That's the reason. It's because Modern is just so big. Obviously they can print new cards. Of course, Blood Sun is a new card and it's going to see a lot of Modern play, but it's one of those situations where like people just sit on decks and archetypes forever and it doesn't change. And standard by its nature is kind of like built to be changed. And when you have a situation where energy comes in and just does this kind of thing, it just kind of just like upheaves and kind of like, flips the table on the entire format. And I'm not saying I hate energy. I like energy as a mechanic. I think it's a really interesting idea. I just think that we really need something to balance it out and we don't have anything. I was waiting the entire time for the Rivals of Ixalan to like have something in that entire set. Just it was kind of out of nowhere that would just like said something about energy or dealt with counters or something like that. We didn't get a single card that was like that. At least in Amonkhet we got Solemnity that was kind of an answer, but really not because it's too slow. So if WotC bans the card, they're going to lose, like trust, they're going to lose some money that way, but they are going to open up the format for new players to kind of come in, for old players to get reinvigorated in the format, for players to come back and buy the new sets and be like, okay, well standard is now fixed and we can kind of move forward that way. And I know we've had a ton of bannings recently. I know we've had a ton of cards from Kaladesh block to have to be banned. Obviously, the set before that we had the Zendikar block where a lot of the, Eldrazi were a big issue as well. But those were kind of different issues because those were facilitated by energy mechanics. And again, I feel like energy is just the biggest issue in standard at the moment right now. Hopefully, when Rivals of Ixalan Pro Tour happens or when the announcement does happen, we basically get like, 2 to 3 cards that are banned. I would personally love that for myself. If we just get a Tune with Aether banned, I think that's fine. I don't think that solves the issue though. But of course, this is a conversation. I want to know what you guys think. Please leave it in the comments below. This is just me ranting, obviously just my opinion. This is just me kind of going off the top of my head and being a player in standard the entire time Kaladesh has been in standard. But yeah, I really want to know what you have to say. Please leave a like on the video if you liked the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I can't wait for Rivals of Ixalan and I can't wait to see a ban and restricted announcement of something. Personally, I would like Rogue Refiner, Whirler Virtuoso, a Tune with Aether, and probably something else, maybe Aether Hub or something like that, where it kind of shuts it down completely. But yeah, the top 3 is definitely a Tune, Whirler, and Rogue Refiner. Anyway, guys, that is it for the video. I love y'all, and I'll see you in the next video.